You're listening to Scribble Talk, a podcast for bid and proposal professionals. My name is Bhaskar Sundaram, and with my co-host,
Ashley Hayes,
we will be sitting down with our industry veterans to share their stories, discuss their career, and learn how to make an impact in the industry. Today's guest is Andrew Fraser. Andrew leads the strategic bids team at WSP in the UK. As one of the world's leading professional services firm, WSP provides engineering and design services to clients in transportation and infrastructure, property and buildings, environment, power, energy, resources, and industry sectors, as well as offering strategic advisory services. He leads a team of work-winning professionals focused on securing the WSP's most important project service from the UK. Andrew's 18-plus year career in bidding started with environmental consultants, ADAS. As with many in this profession, this wasn't a deliberate choice of career path. He started out as a business consultant, cutting his teeth on writing business plans, funding applications, and market reports. He then moved to Parsons Brinckerhoff. I get it right?
It's Parsons Brinckerhoff.
Parsons Brinckerhoff. Got it. Thank you, Andrew. Taking the opportunity to focus on bidding and the chance to work on much larger bids. He became part of WSP when Parsons Brinckerhoff was acquired by them in 2014. Throughout that time, he has grown and developed the bidding function within the firm to what it is today. One of the best places to work with. Welcome, Andrew, to Scribble Talk. Great to have you with us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Andrew. So let's start from the very beginning, Andrew. Where were you born? And let's talk about your high school and education.
All right. So I was born in Edinburgh and raised in the Scottish borders, which is southern part of Scotland. Educated at a private school called Strathallan School in Perthshire. And then, I was always thought I would end up farming or doing something like that. I'm not sure there's many people in bidding that have actually started off a career in farming, but I'd love to hear if there is. Nice. And started then working for ADAS, the consultancy you were talking about earlier on.
Perfect. And after schooling, which was your very first job? Was it ADAS immediately or?
I went and worked at home for a bit on the family farm for a bit, and then decided that it would be a good idea to go and do a bit outside of farming. So that's when I went to work for ADAS.
Got you. How was it growing up in a farm?
Oh, fantastic. It's the ultimate playground, probably a bit more dangerous than most playgrounds, but a great place to grow up.
Totally. I think at this stage when we all are locked down in our own environment, I'm sure you'll be wondering what if you're based at your farm, right? Does your parents still have the farm back in Scotland?
Yes. The farm is still there. It's up in the Scottish borders. My brother farms it.
Oh, nice. Amazing. So it was ADAS, as you rightly said, that's where you started to build business plans and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I started. I've always been involved and interested in the sort of financial side of things, and a big part of my workload there was to write business plans to help our clients secure funding or investment, and that's where, as I said before, as you said in the bio, that was very much where I cut my teeth on, and learned how to write. Persuasively and concisely.
Got you. After high school and education, did you do any graduations or anything that helps you to be okay at your job at ADAS?
Well, I did go and work in Australia for a year on a sheep station out there, and that's really character building. Having a year out in the middle of nowhere. Really just learning how to work really and having a great time, a bit like the Wild West really.
Got you. I think after, how old were you when you went to Australia to work in that?
I was about 18, 19 at the time.
Wow. Was it the first journey that you went abroad?
Oh, I'd been on family holidays to, the continent and, France and Italy and Spain, but never anywhere by myself. So it was a fantastic opportunity. And, I still keep in touch with the family that I worked with when I was out there. And yeah, great experience.
I'm super curious, Andrew. How did you manage to find that job?
Oh, friends of friends and contacts and things like that are always able to drag something up.
Wow, that's amazing. And at that age, maybe when was it? 1980s? Is it 1990s?
Yeah.
Wow. At that point, I'm sure there'll be very less flights, airplanes that go.
Oh, I traveled out there by ship. I was able to get a working passage on a container ship, and was able to, 7 weeks working on a cargo ship to get there.
Wow, what an experience! 7 weeks in a cargo ship. So these days we travel there by aircraft, right? So is that how you came back as well to UK?
I flew back, but yeah, fantastic.
Oh, wow, answer. I wish we stopped talking about other things and just talk just about this for the rest of the podcast. It's super unique experience, amazing. So ADAS, you came back and you started to work with ADAS, building business plans. How long were you there in ADAS and what happened?
I was there, 10, 12 years from memory now. It seems a long time ago now, but I worked my way up from a sort of graduate trainee to become a principal consultant, and I was running a team of consultants there, and we were working with businesses across the UK, mostly food and farming businesses, and some cut flour importers, all sorts of things. So I was able to see the inside of probably 200 to 300 small and medium to some quite large businesses out there. And so that was really good experience.
Wow, 12 to 14 years there,
Yeah.
As you rightly said, you just started from graduate training, went up to principal. Was there any interesting project that you worked on while you were there at ADAS, or anything comes to memory for various reasons?
It's not really relevant to bidding, but probably one of the most memorable bits was during the 2001 foot and mouth pandemic that affected farming in the UK. I was seconded up to Newcastle to help with the government response to that pandemic and disease outbreak, and that was quite harrowing in that we were having to deal with the disposal of large numbers of livestock that were affected with the foot and mouth disease. It's not something, when you're dealing with people that have had their livelihood removed from them overnight, it's not something I would wish ever to go back to, but a challenging and experience at the time.
Totally, Andrew. What a memorable experience. Whatever we are going through now, it's more or less the same, right? Day in and day out.
On a different scale, and different impact. The what we're going through now, but is massively, greater impact. But there's a lot of parallels there.
Oh, totally, Andrew. So 12 to 13 years with ADAS, and you moved to the other company, which I'm not even going to say the name again.
Well, yeah, I was working at ADAS, and I'd set up I'd been asked to set up the bid function, which I did, and we improved our hit rate. We doubled our hit rate then, and really got the thing going. But I was getting quite frustrated at the time because the average deal size was not huge. It was well under £1 million, and I think probably in that time I was running the bids team there. The biggest deal we did was probably about £1 million. So the opportunity, 2006, came along to join Parsons Brinckerhoff, and that was just in another league. To get to work on much bigger deals on there. So that's the reason I sort of fell into bidding, really enjoyed it, and just hankered after getting into something a bit bigger.
Yes, from 2006, you were with Parsons Brinckerhoff. That's close to 14, 15 years.
Yeah.
And that became WSP halfway through the journey in 2014, isn't it?
Yeah.
So in this 14 years, do you have, how big was your team when you started? Talk about your team and also the memorable projects that you have done in this 14-year period.
All right. So when I started at Parsons Brinckerhoff, there were probably 5 or 6 people that were heavily involved in bidding scattered around the business. I was the first or second into a sort of central function, and we grew that to 8, 9 people in 2014. And then, when we became part of WSP, the size of the business, doubled. So Parsons Brinckerhoff had about 2,500 people in the UK. When we joined WSP, that doubled. And then we acquired Mouchel, another engineering consultancy along the way. So we ended up way north of 7,000 people in the UK. And ultimately, we have a bid community today of about 80 people. The team that I lead's just a bit over 20 people now.
Wow, that's pretty much 3 to 4 times what you started to what you have at the moment. So, so any memorable projects during this period?
Right. Yeah, sorry. I should have. The first project that I did within Parsons Brinckerhoff was to bid a major role around expanding the tram network in Manchester. And we were successful. And if you land and win on your first substantial bid, it doesn't half make a difference to your career. And we really that began a long-term relationship with the client in Manchester, and we're still working with that client today on helping them expand their network. We've helped the client go from a single line or very few lines within Manchester to it becoming a major network for that city. So that's probably my first major success within the company. And I think more recently, we've had some very challenging bids with our client Highways England in the last year. Highways England, for the international listeners on this, Highways England is responsible for the motorway network that we have within England. On there, doesn't cover Scotland or Wales or Northern Ireland, but it still covers our major highways network within England on there. And we had a substantial win last year with that, with a project that was helping. It's called Smart Motorways, which is about introducing IT and all sorts of developments around the motorway network to expand capacity. And the bid itself was particularly challenging because it was one of our first ones where we really pushed the capture approach and understanding using that capture approach, which has become very much en vogue within APMP right now, and we really used it to great effect. But it was also our first try with MS Teams. MS Teams in a year has come on a massive amount, and it was a huge learning curve for us to get that rolled out and use that on one of our biggest bid. And thank goodness we did do that last year, because we couldn't have functioned this year without it.
Totally, Andrew. So I'm sure your team is now at different places. So how are you working alongside your team and keeping them, encouraged, motivated in this COVID virtual period?
We've had to learn a different way of working. Some of my team members who I used to see almost on a 2-3 times a week, I haven't seen since March. So it is very different. I say Teams is doing that. We've had to look very much at how we organize social events and think of different ways of delivering. And we've just held our Christmas team meeting last week, just to find out, and we've finished up that with a virtual quiz and all sorts of things. So when we've been operating, we've had to think not just about the delivery of our day-to-day work outputs, but also actually help people maintain social contact and put things in place to allow people to do that.
Totally, Andrew. So, 15 plus years with the WSP. At what point do you heard about APMP as an industry body?
I was just looking back at that. It must have been 2013, 2014 that we started to recognize that we really needed to professionalize the bidding function within, what was then Parsons Brinckerhoff and subsequently WSP. And I looking back on my records, I think I did my foundation exam in 2014. But we've now got to a point that if you want to be part of if you want to work in bidding within WSP, certainly in the UK, APMP foundation is the norm. I can't think of many people across our team that don't have APMP foundation as a qualification. And we have a lot of people. We have a couple of people that have gone to the highest level, the professional, and I did practitioner in 2019 last year. I was one of the guinea pigs for the new exam, which was an interesting experience.
Totally. Successful, 20 plus years of career, and you have been nominated for APMP UK Leadership Award.
Yes.
How was the experience?
That was unfortunate. Well, I made the shortlist, but I didn't win. But there was a worthy winner in there last week. It was a very hot competition, and my colleague, Lady Nikki Dodds, had won the Capture Best Practice Award. So we were really pleased with that, and it was a good evening. Again, done virtually, because usually we go to the awards event. We've attended and won prizes at the UK APMP chapter on 2 or 3 occasions.
Totally. I mean, yes, I think as a team, we just came across pretty solid, Andrew. But that's great. I think it's out of all the colleagues in UK, you have been shortlisted to final 3. But now this is a journey, which is something that you should all be happy and proud.
Yes, very much.
Like that little farm boy in Scottish Highlands coming and winning a global award. I'm sure your parents and family will be super happy with you.
Yeah.
So, and you also mentioned about certification journey and other things. How is your team kind of going through professional personal development today?
So I have to admit that we've had a bit of a hiatus on APMP certification this year, purely because of the COVID thing. But as we move forward back into next year, we've got budget to spend on the certification again, and we will unpause and get going again. And APMP certification is very much part of what we are about.
Andrew, that's exactly what I want to hear, Andrew. My team will get in touch with you straight after this call. We are going to learn. That's brilliant. Thank you, Andrew. So, Andrew, we just talked about your early life, your career, and also WSP, bids, the APMP, etc. As I see to Ashley's rounds, tell us 3 things not many people know about you.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So I've talked a bit about my trip to Australia, and I think that's something I won't go back over that again. One of the things that impacts on the bids that I produce is very much the fact that I'm colorblind. I can't see or distinguish red-green terribly well, and that makes me almost OCD in checking the readability of our bids in terms of the graphics and stuff like that. And I always like to treat the recipient of my bids as though they were colorblind, and that make sure that whatever we produce is absolutely clear. The other thing that people, I always turn up to meetings in London and everything. They might not realise that I actually live in the Midlands, sort of halfway up the country, and I have if I am travelling to London, which seems a distant memory right now, I travel 150 miles into London and 150 miles out of London 3 or 4 times a week. And that gives me an hour and a half every day that I do travel into London on the train. And that gives me my time to think and decompress and to really, and if I'm up against a deadline, it gives me a chance to be undisturbed and get on and write responses.
Wow. These days, yeah, we're all longing, there was a time when we traveled too much and we are asking for work-life balance, but now we are working from home and we all want to travel.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to traveling again, because my son will next May graduate from the University of Texas from the MBA program, and I'm desperate to be out in Austin to see him graduate next May.
Oh wow! Okay, that's amazing. That's a good seed in to Ashley. So thank you, Andrew. Thanks for sharing.
Wow, Andrew, it's been amazing hearing about some of your stories early on in your life and then your career. So many accomplishments. We're going to dig a little bit. You're welcome. We're going to dig a little bit into your hobbies and interests, and then we're going to move over into kind of our fun, lighthearted nutters round.
Right.
So first, let's talk about, the things you do for fun, the things that you do to decompress. I understand you like cars.
Yeah, very much so. Although I have owned a number of classic cars over the years, but I've just got rid of them because we're having some building work starting in the spring to create a home office. So I've sacrificed those to create space for the home office on there. But I do very much enjoy my cars, and having owned some classic MGs and Sunbeams and so on. There. So yeah, it's in abeyance right now whilst we get our building work done.
Yeah, totally understand. So are you excited to have a nice home office and garage in your garden?
Very much so. Yeah, the way that we work is changing so much. Instead of, I've talked about missing commuting into London and everything like that. Well, I will want to get back to that, but I don't ever see myself going back to that on a as much as I have been, and so I need this office space now to change the way, as a response to the way in which we work.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I know we're doing a similar thing here in the US for our house upcoming. Yeah. You just need that space.
Oh, absolutely. And I've been working since March in our dining room, which is fine, but I do find you need that separation and be able to shut the door on it. So
yeah,
that's what we're going to do.
Oh, very good. And so do you do some hunting? You're training a gun dog, is that true?
Yeah, we have last year we got a little Cocker Spaniel, and she's a working Cocker Spaniel, and we're out there training her to be a gun dog. Hopefully, if I get the time. It's a bit of a lot. We live in a very lovely English village, and so there's an opportunity to get out and let her hunt along the hedgerows and find all sorts of things.
Very cool.
Right. And alongside that is a love of travel. I'd hesitate to say that my last trip was to China in September 2019, and we all know that SARS started in China in late 2019.
Yeah, wow. Oh my goodness. But how was that trip? Before, was there any signs of the coronavirus while you were there, or did all of that kind of just hit right after?
Yeah, and it's such a huge country. We were never anywhere near Wuhan, But it's such an amazing place, and as soon as things open up, I would encourage people to go back there and have a look, because it's just so different. I've traveled all around the US, and it's just so different and so much fun.
So top things to see when you're in China?
It's all the stuff that China's well known for. The palaces in Beijing, the Great Wall, the pandas, the warrior army. There's all sorts of things. The food, yeah, it's okay. Actually, you get better Chinese food when you're outside of China. That's my view. Some of the American Chinese food is amazing.
Oh, yeah, I agree. So you've been a lot of places, China, Australia, the US. Where are some of your favorite places to travel?
Well, I say our next trip will be back. We'll be going to Texas next year. In 2018, we actually visited Nashville and did a loop out to Savannah and places like that, and then down to Florida, where my daughter was working for Disney for the summer. She did a Disney placement there.
Oh, cool.
So we do like that, and really enjoyed being around there and on there. I'd really love to go back to New Zealand again, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So also you enjoy genealogy and learning about your family history. Do you use Ancestry or some sort of online site, or how do you research your family history?
It is through Ancestry. Do you use that as well?
My mom used it for a little bit, and she connected with one of her nieces in England. It seems to be very popular over in the UK, a little bit more popular. Maybe.
Everybody thinks their own family history is the most interesting out there. It is. It's been particularly fascinating. Yeah.
Oh, very cool.
When we were in lockdown, it was something that you could do without worrying too much about having to get out there and who you would bump into. So it was a good pastime when we were in lockdown.
Very cool. So how far back were you able to trace your family lineage?
Right down to into the 14th century.
Wow, very cool.
And members of the as people of Scottish origin have ended up all over the world. So we can trace people into North America, Australia, all over the place.
Oh, neat. So cool. So now we're going to kind of dig into our rapid fire, quick responses. Don't worry about the questions or the answers. No right, no wrong. So Here we go. What trait do you like most about yourself?
I would think I'm reliable. And that I have an ability to look at a question that we've been set, and a fairly complicated and fairly rapidly come to a view. Right, well, this is how we should be responding. So a sort of steadiness and clear thinking.
Yeah, important in the role that you're in for sure.
Thank you.
So what is on your bucket list for next year? We know you're going to Texas, but is there anything else?
Well, just to bring it around to what we're going to be doing, focus on work. We are in the UK. The professional services market is going to get very, very competitive next year, and as we recover from COVID and things get back into bidding, we think. Or we know that things are going to become ultra competitive, and we know that we're going to have to be better than ever in terms of what we focus on. And I would say the three things that we have to focus on qualifying our prospects, making sure that we're really certain that this is the perfect bid for us. We then have to get in and make sure that we get the capture of it absolutely right, and then make sure that we are really, really good in terms of our technical response, and that we continue to achieve top scores, and be commercially right in the mix. And that's where we just got to head down, focus on being excellent.
Yeah, absolutely. What a great thing to have on your bucket list for next year. So
you.
if you could pick a new first name, what would it be and why?
I don't think I wouldn't change it. I'm very happy with with Andrew. The reason is my mother is English and my father is Scottish, and the patron saint of Scotland is Andrew, and the patron saint of England is George, and that's my name. So I wouldn't change it for him.
Yeah, what a nice meaning behind your name there. How do you think your life would change if you didn't need to sleep? What would you do with that extra time?
I feel the urge that I would have to be doing something related to bidding all the time, which wouldn't be a good thing at all.
Yeah, not at all.
Because in the world of bidding, there is never nothing that can't be done to improve it. And I would just end up. It wouldn't be a good thing. I would just end up having to try and improve and improve and improve.
Right, we'd all lose our minds, I think.
Yeah, you're absolutely. I think we'd all go crazy.
If Jurassic Park were real, would you visit it?
Yes.
All right.
On the firm knowledge that we'd all go horribly wrong and we'd have dinosaurs chasing around it, it's probably not such a good idea, but I would go to it.
Yeah, fascinated with the dinosaurs, have to see them.
Yes, you'd have to see them. But you can go and see dinosaurs, in the, with alligators and crocodiles, they're still there.
Yes, true. What do you plan for your birthday next year? Do you have a big celebration planned since we had such a crazy year this year?
No, I think we're going to spend, we'll spend the time and the money. We'll go on our visit to Texas, I think.
Yeah.
Definitely. I'm really looking forward to that. And
absolutely.
If we can get vaccinated and so on, I'm confident that we'll be there.
Yeah, fingers crossed, hopefully next year has some good changes with the vaccines available. Yeah. Do you have a best friend?
Yes, but I'm not going to say who it is because that would exclude the other ones out. But no, I do have a good but small group of friends that I keep in touch with and have kept in touch with over lockdown.
Very nice. That must make it easier to be able to stay in touch. What has been the most difficult challenge thus far in your life?
I have to say that last year has been, the most challenging in terms of keeping the show on the road, both at home and at work. And I think that's most people would probably answer that right now.
Yeah, I would agree. If you were stranded on a desert island, what 3 items would you take with you?
A book, a knife, and I don't know what the third item. Something to hold water and drink out of, I think.
Very good
A
item.
bit of survival and some books to keep me occupied and a knife, you can do anything. You can prosper anywhere.
Yeah, there you go. What kind of secret society would you like to start?
I wouldn't. I just wouldn't. I don't believe. As part of bidding, better bidding comes from openness. So I wouldn't want to see a secret society because that implies something that you're keeping your stuff away from people. And I think the best bidding comes from an open and freely an open attitude and a level playing field. So I wouldn't necessarily want to see that secret society.
Absolutely. So do you think that aliens are real?
Don't know. I really don't know. I think that's the easiest answer is I don't know. I'd like to think there was, but I'm not sure. Yeah.
It's hard to know, right?
Yeah. I've dodged the question, haven't I?
No, it's all right. If you were a cake, which cake would you be?
A cake. I don't know, keen on cake, but I do like a nice chocolate cake with fudge on it.
Yeah.
That would imply that I was sweet, but I know a lot of people wouldn't necessarily agree with that.
If you had to be a teacher of something, what would you teach?
Common sense.
What is one common myth about our profession that you would like to debunk?
That somebody always has the inside track. That that somebody has always sort of got the inside turn. That's not the case. Quite often there are people out there that, or clients out there do play an absolute level playing field.
Yeah, good point,
Thank you.
Are you a morning or a night person?
Oh, very much a morning. I quite often get to the desk for 7 o'clock or earlier.
Wow.
And I write, if I'm writing on a bid, I generally write my best stuff in the morning, and beyond 7 or 8 o'clock at night, I'm not much use at it.
Yeah, when you're fresh.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that I very much tried to instill within the team, is that there is a bravado about pulling an all-nighter or whatever, but actually it never produces the results you want it to do. So you're better off going to bed and coming in fresh.
I agree.
And having a real good go at it and then shutting down.
No, you just lose your productivity when you're working through the night like that. Yeah, 100%. So if you could meet anyone from history, who would you meet and why?
It'd have to be, it's really, really obvious, but it'd have to be somebody like Winston Churchill or somebody like that. Not because, partly because of his leadership of the UK, but also he had an attitude around the value of brevity and concise writing. There's a very famous memo that he put out that is worth dragging up. Google it. The need for brevity.
I'll have to look that up for sure. Right now I'm watching The Crown. So learning a little bit of the history and looking up what's real versus what's on the show has been very enjoyable.
An awful lot of The Crown has been made up. So
yep.
it is fiction. But Churchill's in terms of what his views on concise writing are well worth researching.
Definitely have to look that memo up. Looking back, you've had these great influences in your career and you've been able to achieve so much. So who are the people who have been the most influential in your life and career?
In terms of my working life, there's a guy called John Mason who is now at Jacobs, but he's the guy that gave me the opportunity to move to Parsons Brinckerhoff, and he really opened the door for me in terms of getting to the opportunity to work on some of these larger deals. I'm very grateful to him. There's a gentleman, an American guy called Ham McDonald, and I don't know if he's active still in APMP in the States, but he was Parsons Brinckerhoff's pursuit management, capture management guru, and he used to teach a course right around the world for Parsons Brinckerhoff, and really charismatic guy, ex-Vietnam veteran, and tell you, he was just very inspirational in the way he taught and everything like that. He's well up his 80s now. He's still going. He was in London last year, and we met up, and he taught me loads.
Oh, wow.
On that. Great guy.
And in your life?
Well, I suppose ultimately it's very cheesy to say, but my parents, I was born and brought up on their farm, but they were always of the view that they gave me the education and the opportunities not to stay on the farm if that's what I wanted to do. And, you know, by one way or another, I have not stayed on the farm, but yeah, I'm very grateful for them giving that opportunity.
It's so sweet. Yeah, absolutely. Sounds like a great childhood and some great opportunities.
Yeah, very much so.
So what have you observed lately that reminded you that people are good?
I think the care that certainly from within my team and the colleagues at WSP have shown each other in when we've moved to home working, and, you know, have seen colleagues that have been, you know, living by themselves, or and people taking the time to speak to each other and just not just about work, and check in with people that check that they're okay. And that's heartened me a great deal, in that there is that care for colleagues out there.
So nice. On a similar vein, who is the kindest person you know?
Well, it is very in a similar vein. One of the great stalwarts of our team, a lady called Una Tomney, who's really also driven our involvement with APMP. She's incredible in terms of her kindness to her colleagues. Always will stop her working day to listen to people, and she's a great coach and mentor to the team, and she really keeps us on the straight and narrow.
Oh, that's so great to have such a kind person on your team.
It is. It's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it just makes work that much nicer.
Yes, and she does.
So what's one thing you wish you had known when you began your career?
I think it's ultimately just to keep things simple, and the simplest things are the best things. If you start to overcomplicate things, people don't understand it. People take things the wrong way, and ultimately, whenever you're writing something or trying to communicate to another person, just write for the lay person, and just keep it really simple.
Yeah, absolutely. It goes along with that kind of brevity, right? Simple and brief. What is the best piece of advice you've received, and who gave it to you?
The guy I worked for in Australia, as on this sheep station, always used to shout across the yard at me, "There's never nothing to do. There's always something to be done, and get it done." And the same, you know, with bidding and everything, that there is always room for improvement. There is always something that can be done to get better.
Absolutely. Great advice. So we're curious, what is next for you? What are you looking forward to in the future?
Well, I've talked a bit about that. You know, we've got some in the UK. We're going to have some really challenging market conditions, and you know, just when you think you're getting on top of the you know, getting ahead of your competitors in the world of bidding, they catch up with you, and you know, we've got to find that competitive advantage over the next year. So that's what we're going to be focusing on, is just getting better and better and better in terms of our applications of technology, making sure that we're really focused on the right bids, and that we really focus on putting the best possible quality and commercial offers out there.
Yeah, your competitors need to watch out for you next year then.
Well, we know, you know, we know the bar is being raised all the time.
Oh, yeah, that's great. So, Andrew, is there anything that you wanted to talk about today that we haven't covered?
I think you've gone through pretty well everything. I think it's been really enjoyable talking to you. I hope I've given a sense, you know, a good account of where I'm from and what I do and what my philosophy of bidding. Happy to, you know, to leave it at that.
Oh, that's so great. It's been a pleasure, Andrew. We want to thank you so much for your time today. It really has been a privilege to have you with us here at Scribble Talk. We wish you all the good health and happiness. Please do continue to inspire your bid and proposal industry colleagues and everyone else around you. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay sane.
All right, great. Thank you both for talking.
Thank you, Andrew.
To our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. Please visit batchyscribble.com/podcast to listen to this episode and check out any of our other previously recorded episodes. If you've enjoyed today's interview, don't forget to subscribe, review, and share the Scribble Talk podcast. We hope you'll check out our next episode where we interview another industry expert and special guest. Until then, it's Ashley Kays,
Bhaskar Sundram,
signing off.